Let's keep it going. And we're going to break down each of the three Thanksgiving games. We can also include them in the six pack for this week. So have some fun with it. But the first game up on the slate is the Buffalo Bills staying in Detroit. 9.5 point favorites on the road, total of 54 against the Lions. Buffalo started slow in that game against Cleveland. So for anyone who got an 8, either way, you pushed on that, which is kind of crazy given how it started off. But what did you think of Buffalo and what do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, if you look historically, we talk about this a lot on Thursdays for Thursday night games, how favorites have done well. And that's, we think that the better team with short preparation is more focused and is easier to handle that. And that's been the case with Thanksgiving. For whatever reason, favorites have just dominated, like the biggest square sides, any favorite. Doesn't matter who
I have
favorites
a
mean.
theory. I have a theory
Yeah.
on it. So my theory on why favorites tend to dominate, and I haven't checked it, so I could be wrong, but I was kind of reading about it, and I think it's because Detroit always plays on Thanksgiving, and Detroit is usually the underdog on Thanksgiving, and Detroit has historically not had many great teams over the years. So I think it just might have a lot to do with it being the same team, the same teams over and over, and Detroit being one of them. And it's just it's usually teams that just favored against Detroit.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, favorites of 7 or more over the past 20 years on Thanksgiving are 24-2 straight up, 22-4 against the spread. It's pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, I can also give you stats trends this year that would back up the lines. I mean, faves of a touchdown plus this year are 33% against the spread. Home underdogs of over a touchdown are undefeated against the spread. The Bills, who were historically, I shouldn't say historically, but in recent seasons under Allen, they've been covering machines. Not been the case lately. They've gone 4 straight not covering against the close, and I think that's because there's some major issues right now. I think what's happening and look, Allen and his injury is now in a short week, so that's definitely something to monitor. It's also worth noting that they just played in Detroit, so it's a very unique situation. Now they did go home, but they got some familiarity with the stadium, and I think most importantly, like if you look historically at the Bills' numbers, offensive numbers under Josh Allen on the road in domes, they're insane. Like he's completing like 80% of his passes, so that bodes well for them. They're more built like an indoor team. Although last week they went with a lot more heavier sets, and they
Yep.
were really getting their running game going, which was interesting. But I do think that Buffalo has some issues right now, and one of them it's Allen and his arm. So I'm assuming it's a pain management thing, and I'm assuming he's taking a shot,
Yep. Yep.
and then it's taken time for it to kick in, and that's like they didn't get a first down through until halfway to the second quarter against the Browns. Their offense looked horrendous. Allen was missing throws. And then it seems like, it kicked in or whatever happens. Maybe he changes the timing up of that, but there's risk there. And there's also the risk that he gets hit and it's ineffective. Most importantly, it's the defense. There are major injuries, major impactful injuries on the defense. You have your pass rush isn't the same. Besides Von Miller, it's like Rousseau is hurt. Yeah, Edmonds is hurt. Ebenezer got hurt. There's just a lot of guys that are out in that rotation that were generating a lot of pressure up front. And then in the secondary, it's like, when is Trey White coming back? Micah Hyde's on IR. Elam is hurt. There is just injuries across the board. And you've seen that play out the last couple of weeks. I mean, the Browns last week Brissett threw for over 300. They put up 400 yards, matched them in yards per play. They made Zach Wilson not look like an asshole for 1 week and lost to him. Like he didn't have a great day, but he
played
beat the
clean.
Bills.
Yeah.
He played clean, didn't throw any interceptions. And then obviously we saw what Minnesota did. It was a fortunate win, but they still put up 33 points and were making all kinds of huge plays late. So yeah, the defense has issues right now. Now you're going up against a really good offensive line. The Lions offense the Lions have won 3 in a row. So look, the Bills just, generally speaking, in the past have won by margin. They usually win by double digits when they win. But I think this number is a tad too high. You always have the frisky Lions backdoor potential. But at 10 or more, I'm probably gonna be in the Lions. Nothing like starting off your day at like noon with a Lions bet as you're getting ready and kind of grubbing. But I do think there's a little bit of value with when you add in what's going on with this Bills defense right now, just not healthy, and then you throw in Josh Allen's elbow, and I think the Lions can compete here.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I know that sharps hit the Bills. I don't know if that's just because of the trends, or what, or just kind of get betting on them to get right after 4 games without covering. But I was kind of surprised because I feel like the Lions have a chance not only to cover the spread but to win this game. I mean, they're at home, like you said. They have a decent offensive line, a good offensive line, and they're getting healthier on offense. You had Chart come back last week. He didn't play a ton, but he's back. And you have Reynolds practicing, Chart
Yeah,
practicing.
Chark had 11 steps, and they came out today and said you expect more next week.
Yeah. Swift is
Jameson
full.
Williams, is he even a possibility?
I don't think this week they opened his window. I highly doubt that would be like a wild card if they just activated him. But the offense just beyond that. I mean, Raymond was already playing well. Justin Jackson was already playing well. So they have a lot of different guys that they can kind of sub in and out here on offense. Of course, St. Brown should have a massive game. Look at what Cooper did a few days ago to the Bills. So I think the Lions are a live dog here, but looks like the Sharps hammered the Bills. So, and everyone's going to catch wind of these trends for the
favorite
favorites.
trends.
Yeah. So I think we could get probably 10 with the hook leading up to kickoff. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 10.5 at some point, unless, Sharps come back on it. But, everything I've seen has been people kind of going toward the Bills, and I really don't get it. I mean, like you said, their defense is out of sorts, and the offense never seems to put 4 quality quarters together. Like, I like what they're doing with Cook. I think they're getting him more involved. They're running a little heavier, playing some December football. You don't really need that indoors, though. It would be good if the Bills offense could actually just execute like, they're known to do. But I think the Lions can hang around here. And we've seen that every time the Lions are at home, pretty much, they get into these shootouts and they hang with the other team. That doesn't mean they always win, but they generally cover. Philadelphia, they came back from down big and covered right at the end. They beat Washington. They lost by 3 to the Seahawks in a game where both teams were in the mid 40s, but they have the potential here to hang with Buffalo, especially with the offense getting healthy. So yeah, I'll probably be on the Lions as well.
I'm going to bet some right now. You'll see this come through. I'm going to bet a smaller bet at 10, and then I'm going to wait to see if it goes to 10.5.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you here. Let's start off the day with some lines, and I do think what the Bills are doing is smart with this run game because their run game's been so bad, and they might need it. And you're Allen's arm, Allen is dealing with some so they got to find a running game. So they're using these different heavier sets, using Cook. I think it's going to pay off in the long run. And then you're also able to kind of save Allen right now because he's not fully healthy. But as far as covering a big number, in this particular game, it doesn't help them in the short term indoors. You want old Allen dropping back and throwing 40 times here.
Yeah, I mean, the real thing, what's going to be the sweat is going to be if we get a bunch of Oruwariye again, because I think Okuda's doubtful.
Out,
yeah. So do they still have Jerry Jacobs, or is he what's going on with him? Is he hurt too?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm assuming they're going to do is now. This is a fantasy related question for you is, what I'm assuming they're going to do is they're going to double Diggs,
Mm-hmm.
and then Gabe Davis has just not been what exactly is going on. But Jerry Jacobs will play. That he'll be in for,
okay,
and no Warrior, and then Will Harris will be your starting corners. I think they have Mike Hughes too. But yeah, Jerry Jacobs is still there. He's healthy. But what Gabe Davis has been I can't figure out what's going on with him.
He's just there's been a lot of near misses, but yeah, it's just been inconsistent. I mean, that's the kind of receiver he generally is. When you have a lot of low percentage routes. But I mean, the last 2 games, 5+ catches, 68+ yards, and a touchdown in the Vikings game. So it hasn't been all bad for him, but yeah, you're gonna get some bust weeks. I've seen a few plays just like Josh Allen. You know, they're just missing, not by much, but they are missing, and that's kind of the nature of that offense. The way Josh Allen plays, they just kind of, it's like backyard football at times, and it can get sloppy. So,
Yep.
but yeah, that's probably my biggest sweat is just I would have liked Okuda here to handle these guys, but I mean, look how bad the Cleveland secondary has been. Look how bad Cleveland has been on defense, and they held this Bills team to pretty much nothing, and Stephon Diggs to nothing for over a quarter. So you can't. This Bills offense is not as reliable, and
Yep.
10 points is a lot. So yeah, I'll be with you, but I really do think we get the 10.5. All right, let's go to the second game, and man, I feel like there's something I want to do with it, but I don't know exactly what, and that's the Giants at Dallas. The Cowboys are favored by 9 here, and the Giants are just in a tough spot because they suffered a massive injuries in that loss to Detroit. So that you added injury to insult. Wan'Dale Robinson, who had a 100-yard receiving game, was kind of turning into Daniel Jones's go-to guy. He's done for the year. Adoree Jackson, you made him the punt return. Maybe the first true misstep for Dable. He's doing a lot of things smartly, but the drop off from Adoree to to Richie James is nothing like the drop off from Adoree to other cornerbacks.
Richie James is hurt too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he would be the replacement for Wan'Dale Robinson. So
you're gonna have to count on Kenny Galladay and like Isaiah Hodgins here.
Yeah, it's tough, and you got Lawrence Cager at tight. I mean, the whole team is new. The whole team the
whole offensive line.
Yeah.
Like the Evan Neal might not play. His backup got hurt. The center got hurt. Feliciano. Lemieux was in there, got benched. He got hurt. His backup was also hurt. Andrew Thomas now popped up on the injury report.
Yeah, illness too. So who knows if it's a COVID thing?
But yeah, and then Fabian Moreau might be out too. You already have Xavier McKinney out. It's your starting safety. Your other safety who plays for you. Dane Belton's hurt, and then but Pennick's also hurt. Like this team it shambles the defense. The defense wasn't good anyway. Nope. And team was very lucky. And what's really troubling, you see the state of this defense, is they got carved up by the Texans 2 weeks ago at home. And the Texans just couldn't score in the red zone. And then we saw what the Texans did last week. They had 5 yards in the first half, which was only marginally better than the Jets' second half of 2.84 inches per play in the second half. But then the other thing is, so Jones has historically been good in this spot. It's a good buy low, sell high spot. Cowboys coming off a 35-point win, but they're just too hurt. And then, the Cowboys look like they're going to start trending up, but then they have an illness and all this stuff going on with their defensive line, which is where they would just ruin this Giants offense. So if they have a bunch of defensive linemen out, I mean, even I assume he's going to play. But DeMarcus Lawrence popped up on it. Pretty much their entire defensive line was on the injury report today with illness or somewhat banged up. And then Micah Parsons has like a knee or ankle, I think. And, I think he's going to play. But if the Cowboys are, just crushed up front, then can Barkley just grind this game down and keep the Giants in the classic ugly one? I don't know. I don't know.
I look at Barkley and I think he's banged up. Because remember that Lions run defense was not great, and they held him to 15 for 22, and he hasn't been the same as a receiver since that shoulder injury either. He's coming off the field more. He's getting expelled by Breida more, and he just doesn't seem as explosive. And I remember he made a comment a couple of weeks ago saying, I got the injury, but I need to be explosive to carry this team. So I don't know if this is the same Barkley. I know he got the 35 carries against the Texans, but he wasn't even super efficient. He averaged like 4.3 yards a carry or something like that. So I don't think this is the same Barkley that we saw that was kind of single-handedly keeping them afloat earlier in the year.
Yeah, this team was already one of the luckiest teams in the NFL won a bunch of one possession games, got a bunch of breaks in numerous different categories. Now they're just a shell of themselves. And yeah, it's not the best spot to back the Cowboys, but I'm not a fan of laying like,
Yeah.
9.5 in a divisional game with this low of a total, especially this year. Jones has just found ways in the past. I don't know how he does it here. I do have a rule of thumb that I have action in my entire life, going back to high school. I have bet every single Thanksgiving game. Now, it might not be straight up. I might have like a for fun parlay or a teaser or a prop that I bet,
Yes.
because I can't sit on the couch and not have, on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and not have still go to the game. So I will say at the minimum, I'll be pairing like Dallas money line with something, like just something that I like on Sunday. Another like smaller favorite. I'll pair Dallas money line. I think Dallas wins this game. I'll have action on it that way. Or if there's a prop that you or Kerner like, so I'll have something on this game. Don't worry. I think you probably will have something on every game too. That's just un-American not to.
Yeah. I definitely will have something every game. Probably a prop. That's a good point about the money line parlay. What I would not do is money line parlay the Cowboys with the Bills, because we just talked about that. That to me is not a guaranteed win. Like I would absolutely, maybe the Chiefs on Sunday or something like that, kind of take advantage of spots you like, because I do like the spot for Dallas. And oddly enough, week 12, and every week I start the week, I just go in our Bet Labs data and I just try to see if there's anything interesting that pops out about the trends for that week. A lot of times it's small sample, but in general, if you like betting favorites, week 12 is pretty much your best week. So I don't know if that's because there's, holiday travel and just not a lot of time to get better. And so the better teams usually win, or what exactly it is. But this is a week where favorites have been profitable, which is, you almost never see, any trends that support favorites, because the book, more people bet on favorites. So the books have to adjust those a lot more quickly. So, but I do like Dallas here. I just think, Dory Jackson, I mean, this is not the ideal time. You lost your punt returner. Your backup punt returner might have to play slot receiver if he's healthy. And you have to deal with this, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup.
And then, you might be down your second and third quarter, and then two or three safeties. And it was from a defense that wasn't playing well already. And
by the way, second to worst in running back yard per carry allowed, over 5.3. And this dude Pollard breaks off 20-yard runs in his sleep.
Yeah.
Like it could get ugly, but like you said, it's just after seeing what Dallas did to Minnesota, just watching football long enough, usually you can't repeat that and do that 2 weeks in a row. It's just really tough to do, especially on a short week. But I would lean the Cowboys here, especially under 10. All right, let's go to the nightcap. Patriots at Vikings, off that embarrassing loss to the Dallas Cowboys. The Vikings are 2.5-point favorites at FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Action Network podcast. The total is 42.5. Some spots have this number at 3, but it is 2.5 on FanDuel. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is like kind of a real contrarian take, but I show value in this number. And like I did a show earlier, John Middlecalf, his podcast, and he was asking about this game, and I was like, I like the over, but I was describing it right after he introduced the game, and he was like, well, the Patriots offense looks awful. It's primetime Kirk Cousins. So, but I actually like the over here, which is going to be my favorite total. I think that this number has just come down too much for a game that's going to be indoors with some talent. And like, look, if you look at what the Patriots defense has done, its numbers to me are extremely inflated for a unit that's been pretty inconsistent. They're young and they're going to have some inconsistent results. I mean, they gave up 33 to the Bears. Remember, they gave up 27 to the Packers. They gave up near 40 to the Ravens. But the last 3 weeks, they've played Zach Wilson, Sam Ehlinger, and Zach Wilson. Like, it cannot get any easier than that to inflate your numbers. The game before that, they played another backup in Brissett. Then they played the Lions at home, who didn't have Brown. They didn't have Swift. They were dealing with some other injuries.
Yeah, I think Brown
Like,
got hurt
so
early in that game, or so. I think
yeah,
they
got
had
hurt
him, but
really
or he
early.
was. They just didn't play. I forget if he was coming back from a concussion or what, but he just didn't play a lot. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's just their results are extremely skewed. And you look who else. It's like, all right, the they played the Steelers earlier this year with Trubisky, and yeah, so I just think that their defensive numbers and the perception of this defense is overinflated. It's a good defense, but it's not elite, and their numbers right now I think are driving the market to a place where they shouldn't be. The Minnesota defense, meanwhile, I don't
Yeah.
think is any good. I haven't thought is any good, and now, like, I think New England will be able to run on them. And I also think that Mac Jones will have some success throwing the ball here. Like the last couple of weeks, when he faced the Jets defense twice. The Jets defense is really good, which we've seen. And now you're going up against the Vikings, who like are Duke Shelley. It looks like it's going to start at corner, their fourth corner on the
Jacoby
outside. Started the
Myers
last 4 games.
in Jacoby Myers
Um,
spot.
yeah, so I think that this total is too low for me. It's got to. I think it has to be like 44 above. You have like Jefferson and Cook and Thiel, and there's also a lot of talent on that Minnesota offense. I know it's primetime Kirk Cousins. I know New England's been getting some good pressure, which can rattle Cousins. But
Darisaw is out too. That's a big one.
yeah,
Darisaw,
Darisaw is out,
yeah.
which matters at left tackle. But
But their
I just think
backup
this.
has been playing well. To be fair.
Yeah, yeah. It's so I just think this number is too low. Indoors. Another thing that you have to remember: the Patriots' numbers, offensively and defensively, are impacted a lot of times by weather,
Yep.
which you won't have to deal with here. So, yeah, I think if you look at any of Minnesota's games, they played some backup quarterbacks. Like when they played Miami, which was their best defensive game of the year. They were playing their third string quarterback, which is inflating their numbers a little bit. But if you look at the rest of Minnesota's games, anyone with a pulse offensively that was their starting quarterback has gotten to 24, 27. So I think both teams get to at least 20 here, which should put it over the total. And I also don't mind the Patriots as a teaser piece. I think it'll be a competitive, close game. We know that's all the Vikings do is win one possession games. Historically, by the way, for what it's worth, just because it is my philosophy. I'm not actually playing it because still don't think the market is fully corrected for the Vikings. But historically, if you play a team that lost by 35 the next week, you're hitting a very, very good percentage with that buy low, sell high philosophy in the NFL. But yeah, I actually like the over. It's not a play I thought I was going to like, but once this came down to 42, 43 is obviously a really key number, especially post moving back of the extra point. Yeah, I think there's going to be a little more points here than people think.
Yeah, I mean, look no further than last week in that windy game when there was no scoring, but Mac Jones was still pretty efficient overall. What was it, 23 of 27 for 246? So you
looked a lot better after the bye, which I think helped.
Yeah, yep. And you tend to see that with younger quarterbacks, especially those in a new system, which Mac Jones pretty much is because they got Patricia in here. But yeah, I agree. I think that this Patriots team, this offense, they're so used to playing these games where it's windy, it's outdoors, they're playing a shitty quarterback, and they just kind of have to control the game. The Vikings, even though the Patriots defense is good and they'll get pressure, the Vikings are still going to at least we think they should put some pressure on the Patriots offense to actually have to score here. And, that you could see, you can maybe see a trick play or two, and it's hard to prepare for the Patriots because they switch it up so much. Last week, all 5 of their receivers played at least 30% of the snaps. It's just really tough to know what you're going to get from one week to the next, and it's a short week. So, I think the focus for the Vikings, rightfully so, is going to have to be on offense because they just, everything was just sack. They scored 3 points. So the defense obviously had issues too. But I think Belichick's going to be able to, and with Patricia, obviously, is going to be able to kind of get something going here with this Patriots offense indoors. So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah. So in between, they're like just on the couch, food coma. Let's just get both teams to 20, and then we're there. As long as it doesn't end in a tie.
Yeah, get to overtime. Guarantee. Yeah, well, I guess you could still tie. Overtimes are the worst sweats when you have like
Awful.
a dog or something, and you're like, oh, now they could actually lose by 6, and it's just there's a lot, but yeah, I do think that number is a little low there. I know Thursday, we like to target these Thursday unders, but that one is indoors. I think I kind of wish I could take back that. I mean, I liked it, but that Rams Saints thing, two bad teams that had a whole bunch of offensive line injuries, but you're playing indoors. So, McVay dials up a shot to Tutu Atwell, 62-yard touchdown. That was the only route he ran all game. That was the only pass route he ran all game. It was a long touchdown. And that basically, decided the total. So you could see things like that indoors.
Yeah, same in mine. I jinxed our totals. We were 8-0 in our last.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I had the Falcons under, which was pretty much dead once Cordell Patterson
Oh,
returned
yeah.
that kickoff,
Yeah.
106 yards for a touchdown, which again,
easier
much
indoors.
more likely indoors. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got it's good for like DFS and fantasy and all that. Like, by the way, if you're playing on some DFS slates, do not overlook Jared Goff, because if the Bills put up points, then Goff will have to as well.